360 and AMD's released an upcoming 390, 380. I've seen a lot of people wondering whether it's time to upgrade. So obviously, as you can see on my system here, it's not really that recent. I mean, I'm running a second gen Intel CPU and a couple of GTX 660s in Sly. Now with the new release of the Nvidia graphics cards, I've been thinking maybe I'd look at upgrading to the 960. But as you can see in this chart here, the maximum sort of performance increase you'd be getting is around 25%. And for the cost of that, it just doesn't make sense, because you're looking at, you know, £150 for a 960, or I've seen you can pick up a 660 brand new on eBay for about £80. So you're looking at half the cost for about 1.5 times the performance. But obviously I'm not just going to show you a chart and make my decision on that. I'm actually going to show you some in-game performance so you can make the decision on whether it would be good for you. I think I'll start off with DayZ Standalone, as that itself is a really badly optimized game, so you can sort of see what I'm getting at. So I'm going to aim for kind of going for a server that's got a high population, because that way you can kind of see what it's like with a full load. having a bit of a problem with slow internet today. Okay, so we finally found a server that we're able to get into. So as you can see, I'm kind of hovering around the 30 FPS mark. Which is completely fine and playable with no negative experiences really. But as I said, this is a really horribly optimized game. So when they optimize it, you probably find it runs a bit quicker and faster. So now I'll show you some gameplay of a different game. Again, Arma 3 is one of those games it's been out a while, but it's still quite badly optimized. So yeah, that's loading. So as you can see in the top left corner, I'm using Steam's built-in FPS counter. You can find that in settings. And at the bottom left here, I'm using Shadowplay's built-in frame counter. So obviously if you've got a video card newer than the GTX 600s, you're able to access Shadowplay and enable that option. So obviously in single player you'll get more frames because it's not having to do quite so much loading players. go for a fairly decent server with a fair population. The main issue with running Sly, a lot of people will say about, which gives Sly negative thoughts with people, is that it's not compatible with a lot of games. Now that's very well true about older games, but most of the new modern games, i.e. like Arma 3, Ark, Survival Evolved, DayZ, they all support Sly. And there are ways around the whole not supporting Sly issue anyway. If you go into NVIDIA control panel, under 3D settings, you can set the game, so rather than it using NVIDIA's normal Sly setting, you can enable it to either force alternate rendering between graphics card 1 or 2. So you're basically telling it that it's got to do it rather than it doing its own thing. Which I've found in older games like Total War, Rome, things like that, it does give you better results. Like, I found that if I leave it on the standard setting, it wouldn't even run for me, it'd just crash at startup. Whereas the moment I enabled force alternate rendering 2, the game would start and it would play it. I had it capped at 60 frames per second. And another thing I was reading up on, which I can drag on screen now actually, was a whole discussion between Sandy Bridge and Intel's latest offering, which was Skylake. And I was reading through a post or something that stated that from Sandy Bridge to Skylake, you'd be looking at a 25% performance increase. Now, obviously, 25 is a fair, decent performance increase, to be honest. But I mean, when you look at the price of going for that 25%, it kind of makes you wonder whether it is worth it at the end, because UK prices wise, ordering off Amazon, if I was to buy a new CPU and motherboard combo now, I'd be looking at, for the equivalent of what mine is, I'd probably be looking at about £500, and then that's without equating in the whole RAM bit as well, because obviously Skylake uses DDR4, which at the moment, although it's now become mainstream, it's still quite expensive compared to DDR3, which is relatively cheap because it's been out ages. But you'd be looking at a fair cost for it. So obviously, as you can see, I'm floating around at roughly about 40 FPS, and as you can see on my video settings, pretty much everything's running ultra. I've got a few bits and bobs turned down to high, so you can see I'm running in 1080p, VSync disabled. AA is on. So yeah, it's for an old system, which a few people probably consider obsolete by the standards that are out today. It runs modern games pretty well, with no issue. So I'm gonna show you guys a game now that you probably find more people playing because it's more of a casual sort of game that you play just for a bit of fun. Probably should have checked if there was an update before I decided to play it. We'll see how big the update is. But again, obviously in here you can see my graphics settings, so 16 times Antistrophe, 6 times AA with extra, FX AA, textures high, shadow quality is very high, max, everything is on high, bar SSAO and shadow blur should I say. Then obviously you can see in the right here I've got all sorts of stuff there. So yeah, then obviously sound options and stuff. I also again keep my VSync off because I prefer to just let it do its thing. So I'll just do a quick Air Arcade battle just so you can kind of get a feel for what it is. EU looks the most popular. There you go. I did, with the latest patch update they did on this, I did find that I have to turn Sly off because I encounter a flickering issue with my HUD, especially when I'm doing tank battles. It kind of flickers all over the place, so I keep that turned off. So at the moment this is in single GPU performance mode. And obviously, as you can see, I'm kind of hovering around 60 FPS, which is my screen's limit anyway, because it's only a 60 Hz monitor. But yeah, hopefully when they fix the whole Sly issue, go back to enjoying higher FPS without below 60 drops. Reload time. So I mean, yeah, I mean the gameplay is very stable and everything. I've found that the only game that I've struggled really with was Skyrim, and only then it's because I had all sorts of mods for high textures and stuff, and even then my GPU's limit was more the fact that it hit its VRAM limit than anything else, because obviously these are only 2 gig cards. So obviously when you're needing more VRAM, they aren't able to offer it. And a lot of misconceptions I've seen around is with Sly is, you know, do the two cards when you enable them in Sly become 1 card, so you have 4 gig of RAM? No, it doesn't work like that, because unfortunately the same frames are being rendered to both graphics cards, so both graphics cards have got the exact same, and then obviously they just split the load between them depending which mode you use. But Windows 10 should be addressing a few issues with things like that, so hopefully you should notice better performance. But it's mainly targeted towards CPUs.
I can't see him. They got him. You're losing oil. They got long hours. A little more effort and victory will be ours.
He got me anyway.
I can't shake him.
So yeah, in my opinion, basically, if you have a similar or newer build than mine even, to be honest, I don't think it's necessary really to upgrade your system, or even build a new system. I mean, a GPU upgrade would be alright, but I prefer, just for the, you know, cost performance, just going for the cheaper option and buying another card, well, another one of these cards, because you're saving yourself half the amount of money. In fact, maybe even over half than the cost of what it would buy to buy the equivalent edition of these cards. But
attacking our base. We must reinforce its defenses.
and also I'd hold off until they get Windows 10 fixed with DirectX 12 before making a decision like that, because my mate's just upgraded his system. He spent about £2,000, and he got two 960s in Sly in his, and I think it was an i7 4790K. And in most of the games that we play in, he only gets like about 40 FPS more than me, which isn't a huge amount. But obviously, any games that you are struggling to run, you can always just drop the graphics settings down and recuperate frames that way. But anyway, guys, I hope you liked the video. If you like the video, give it a like. If you like videos like this, give me a subscribe, and if you've got any answers, post them in the comments and I will try to answer them. Thanks for watching.